I'm previewing the Masters for you. I'm telling you a sleeper, a bust, a lock for the top 10, and my projected champion come Sunday afternoon. Let's start things off with my sleeper candidate, Russell Henley. So if you guys are betting out there, playing daily fantasy, DraftKings, FanDuel, whatever the case may be, think about putting this kid in your lineups. Russell Henley coming in with great form, finished T8 at the Houston Open. Really solid history at Augusta as well. The one caveat is he has yet to get a top 10 in a major. I think that changes this week. He could very well finish inside the top 10 at Augusta. 28th on tour in terms of strokes gained approach. So his iron game is really solid, which is usually not the case for Russell Henley. He's more of a short game artist, but he's been really good with his irons. He's a winner on tour before, and a guy that everybody should probably think about as we get you set here for round 1 tomorrow. Here's the caveat in terms of Russell Henley. He's got a little baby swag going on. He has a baby due April 15th. It is April 4th. Now, I am not a doctor, and I am not an expert on this matter, and the baby could come within the next few days, I guess, right? Doesn't that make sense? If it's due the 15th, it could come early, right? So he might have to bounce at some point during the Masters, or maybe he just stays. I don't really know, but it's something to keep in mind there when you're building fantasy lineups and you're betting on Russell Henley. He does have a baby due, so something to keep in mind there. So Henley is my sleeper pick for the 2018 Masters. Now, a lock for a top 10 finish, Jordan Spieth, for a few reasons here. So first of all, a glorious Masters record. Outside of even winning it, a fantastic resume at that, has never finished worse than 11th at Augusta. His irons are fantastic. His approach game is on point. And I think his putter is really starting to catch fire now. Finished T6 at the Houston Open, and, you know, that's where he had a 666 in that final round, right? So, you know, Jordan Spieth all of a sudden building up this momentum where I think he's going to be a legit contender yet again at Augusta. Nobody was talking about him a few weeks ago because, you know, people were like, why isn't he winning? Why isn't he winning? Because we're just so used to that. But for Jordan here, all of a sudden, people are starting to pay attention, especially with last week and how he finished inside that top 10 at Houston. So I like Jordan a lock as a top 10 finish at the 2018 Masters Tournament. All right, how about a bust candidate? Somebody that maybe you're buying into, but you shouldn't. Bubba Watson. And it's not just because I hate Bubba, because he, like, whines to his caddy for missed yardages and all that. So Bubba, I've talked about this before on the show, kind of feast or famine with the Masters. Two-time champion, 2012, 2014, but he doesn't have a top 10 other than that. So he's finished outside the top 30 many times in terms of his Masters appearances. And so as a bettor out there and a fantasy player, I'm not buying into that kind of risk. I want to be playing it fairly safe in terms of the top tier picks here. So Spieth, Tiger, the Phils of the world, those are safer picks than, say, Bubba Watson here. So, you know, perhaps you could point to he's driving the golf ball fantastically, but again, he's got a lot of risk to him, especially if you're playing daily fantasy this week, where he's going to be overly popular in terms of rosters and roster construction and what people are kind of doing here with Bubba Watson. People like to buy into Bubba because it's a fun name and all that stuff. You know, he whacks the ball like 330 on average. But I'm here to tell you this. He's not going to finish inside the top 10. He might not even finish inside the top 20. And at his price, in many daily fantasy games, the DraftKings, the FanDuels, all that, not worth the investment. It's all about ROI, and you're not getting good return on investment with Bubba Watson in my eyes. All right, so with that, who is going to win the 2018 Masters Tournament? My pick, Phil Mickelson. He's your champion. He is going to be the oldest Masters champion in history. At 47 years old, he's already won the green jacket 3 times. He won earlier this year at Mexico, a very elite field. He's 4th on tour in strokes gained approach. His irons are dialed in. He's 2nd on tour in putting. So you're telling me a 47-year-old on tour is 4th in iron game, 2nd with your putter, a 3-time Masters champion, and oh yeah, he won earlier this year at WGC Mexico. I'm in. I'm picking Phil Mickelson to win the 2018 Masters. Oh, by the way, he's 3rd on tour in birdies. So I know he has a tendency for the blow-up hole and all of that, but that's at like regular tour events, not among the Georgia Pines at Augusta National, because for some players, things just click when they roll up Magnolia Lane. You know, Angel Cabrera used to show up and contend. Tiger Woods, remember after the whole Thanksgiving scandal and all that, he came back to the Masters and he contended. Same can be said here with Phil Mickelson. So let me know who you think is going to win the 82nd Masters that kickstarts tomorrow morning. I'm going with Phil Mickelson. Outside of Tiger, nobody knows the Masters in this field quite like Mickelson, and he knows Augusta like the back of his hand. So in terms of the oldest Masters champion, you got to go back to 1986, when perhaps the greatest golfer ever, Jack Nicklaus, won at 46 years old. Phil Mickelson will be 47 when he wins. So here's a recap of my predictions. Sleeper, Russell Henley. Lock for a top 10 finish. I've got Jordan Spieth, a bust candidate. Do not buy into this guy. I don't like him at all. Bubba Watson, your projected winner. Phil Mickelson getting his 4th green jacket. The Masters kickstarts tomorrow, and it's going to be a fun one at that. Perhaps the greatest Masters we've ever seen.